Alright folks, we're back again. We're going through the rest of the unboxing for the kit. So again, if you saw the first video, we were talking about the X-Wing mini series, miniature series, which is basically a tabletop board game similar to stuff like 40k, except a lot less complicated, actually more fun. So we're going to delve into some of the other models that you can get. So the base set only had an X-Wing and 2 TIE fighters, but you can buy pretty much every kind of ship that you can think of, along with, they all have multiple characters with them as well. So we're going to talk about the first one, which is Slave 1, which Joe here got me as a birthday present, so hooray. And
friends like this guy.
This guy. With friends like him, you need enemies. I mean, seriously. It's great. But yeah, we're going to talk about Slave 1 first. So Joe, take it away.
Well, the first thing you'll hear in any video to do with X-Wing Miniatures unboxing is the quality of the ships. And Slave 1 is probably the leader of the pack in that regard, and I will actually try and get the camera to focus on this. Look at the quality of that for a pre-painted miniature. It is absolutely incredible. You see the heavy laser cannons at the bottom, you see the engines at the back, like the whole thing is painted by a machine. Like, well, I hope it's a machine, not some kid in China or something. But the quality of the miniature, you would like, a lot of people just buy them just to put them on their stands and keep them in their room and stuff. And that's why I got it for Shane, because even if we tried out the game of X-Wing that we tried out around his birthday, and he didn't like it, then he still loved Slave 1. Slave 1's the coolest ship in the whole Star Wars universe, pretty much.
Go quite well on the Nerd Cave if need be.
Yeah, the box art's very, very cool. The ship comes packaged in like this part here, and the rules are all kept behind here. So a lot of people keep their ships in the boxes as well. This is one of the first ships that they brought out that was a larger ship. So instead of the X-Wings and TIE Fighters fit on these small bases, Slave 1 and the Millennium Falcon fit on the larger base. So they move slightly differently, but use all of the same movement parameters as the normal ships.
Large base models do have an impact on the gameplay as well, as I found out with crashing other ships and asteroids as well.
You have to be very careful flying the larger ships, especially if they're more maneuverable, which might seem like an advantage, which it is. But it means a lot more calculation in your head. So the less experienced you are, the more likely you are to crash into an asteroid or fly it off the table. Richard Flood again. In a tournament, a lot of people have flown their ship straight off the table and killed their ship by complete accident because they didn't know where the ship would end up. They didn't calculate it right in their head. And then one turn later, they could move nowhere but go off the table. So it's a lot of movement thought required when you have the bigger ships. So this is what you get. Like when you get the starter set, it's very straightforward because the X-Wing and TIE Fighter are discussed in the rulebook as examples for all of the stuff that they do. In an expansion set, they have to include this, which is a list of all the expanded stuff you get in the box, all of the cards, the movement dial as a cutout if you want to do that, and then any extra rules that might be included. So in this case, unique names is included because there are ships now with unique names. So not just Luke Skywalker's a unique pilot, now it's Slave 1 is a unique ship. So you can only have one Slave 1 on the map at any time in your list. Additionally, as you know from the films, especially Episode 3, Slave 1 can shoot in the back arc. So it can flip the cannons around and fire out the back arc. So the ship in the game has an auxiliary arc, so it can shoot out the back as well. So it's very, very cool like that. Continuing the theme of the introduction game, this has mission number 5, Prey Stalker. So the first mission is like mission 1, 2, and 3 that comes in the core set, and then mission 4 comes in something that I can't remember. So this continues the missions as well, and it continues any additional rules that come with the pack. So it gives Fantasy Flight a huge advantage in the game in that they bring out the rulebook, and then if they want to try something different, they just include and add on the rules in the expansion set. So you can constantly stay up to date with the rules as long as you want to keep buying the stuff.
So buying additional models does not just get you the model and that character, you get an entire different game.
It keeps you very up to date with any stuff that's involved. Do you know any of the pilots involved in this?
I would imagine Boba Fett is there.
Boba Fett, pilot skill 8, very good pilot. He's involved. He's one of the cards that you get as your upgrade. And then the rest, I'm really not familiar with. There's Kath Scarlet, there's Crassus Trelix, and then there's just a generic basic bounty hunter who's not great, but actually kind of cool if you just want to run a really cool ship. And you get the rest of the upgrade cards required as well. So you see this very funny odd token that wasn't included last time.
But what you said earlier, you couldn't have multiple Slave 1s
exactly
with, say, different bounty hunters in each. So you can only have that one Slave 1.
You can only have one Slave 1 title card. But actually the ship itself, it's painted as Slave 1 right now, But loads of people repaint their ships and end up looking incredible looking. But I found them quite difficult to repaint, even though I painted a lot of Warhammer, because the base coat on them is kind of difficult to remove. But you can run one Slave 1, and then another one can just be the basic ship, which is the Fire Spray class ship. And have another bounty hunter in that ship, because there are other ships you can take as well, and give them titles. So pretty cool in that regard. What have you got there?
The pilot cards?
Yeah. So just like we already went through with the starter box, now we have a different pilot card. We have Boba Fett in Slave 1.
We'll pop up this card for you as well.
Yeah. You'll see that it's very, very different from an X-Wing. In fact, if you can zoom in on this one we have it popped up on the screen, the little red attack dice has an arrow above and an arrow below to indicate that Slave 1 can fire at the front and back with 3 attack dice. So it's a super aggressive ship. And if you look at the points value, you'll see why it's able to be so aggressive, because you can pretty much only have 2 of this ship if you run a full list. So it's a very expensive ship to take. For a big ship, it's very maneuverable. It's twice as maneuverable as a Millennium Falcon, because this was made as a patrol and attack ship. So it's got 2 evade dice. It's got 6 hull points and 4 shield points. So very, very durable.
Beast.
If you can even hit it. And then because it's Boba Fett, he has some extra rules. The Imperial Boba Fett, which is this one, you can see the Imperial logo here, is different in rules than the Scum and Villainy Bounty Hunter Boba Fett, who has different rules again, so they can add a little bit of flavour like that. In the bottom, you can see the upgrade cards that the Fire Spray can take, and specifically the Boba Fett in the Fire Spray can take. He can take the Elite Talent, because he's obviously incredible. He can take a heavy laser cannon target upgrade.
One example here is an ion cannon.
Yeah, the ion cannon comes with the pack. You can take mines, which can come in a lot of different flavors, mines or bombs. You can take a crew upgrade, so that's the first card we've seen so far that has a crew upgrade included. And then you can take a missile upgrade. So again, episode 3 is a really good example of where Slave 1 uses both mines and missiles to attack Obi-Wan Kenobi through the asteroid field whenever he's attacking him. So you get these really cool proton mines that he uses that make the great sound effect, boom, and destroy whole asteroids.
Seismic charges.
Seismic charges, yeah.
That's the crew upgrade you mentioned there. Is that what these are? The Mercenary co-pilot and the gunner?
Exactly. So the Mercenary co-pilot has a little crew symbol in the bottom. So
we'll
that
pop
shows
these up again just to show you guys.
Yeah. The Mercenary co-pilot takes that, so he takes up 1 slot. So if you only have 1 upgrade, you can only take 1 slot. So some ships have multiple missile upgrades, so they can take lots of different missiles. The Mercenary co-pilot can be added on to Boba Fett as if he needs him, to give him the additional ability. So in this case, his ability is when attacking at range 3, so that's maximum range on the ruler, you can change one of your hits to a critical hit.
Which is phenomenal.
But incredibly, a lot of people don't take it. Because they say he's too many points cost, attacking range 3 is not efficient, or it doesn't fit in with their list. So the upgrade cards are definitely very good, but you have to figure out if they work in your list, if you're going to take them or not.
And plus, every one of these upgrade cards also has a point value, which you're adding on to an already
Yeah.
huge amount of points to stay up. Like Boba Fett was what again? 39?
39 points. So he's a huge points cost. He's an X-Wing plus 2 TIE fighters, and he's still more. So he's an awful lot of points for sure.
I'm going to be playing him later though, just to see what he's like.
He's incredible.
So from the other pilots, is there anyone, as you mentioned, of note?
I don't know any of them. I don't know any of them, but I think Crassus Trelix is in one of the comics, and Cat Scarlet might be in one of the computer games. But I haven't actually looked them up. It's just from offhand knowledge that I know any of the other pilots.
Abilities wise, they look the same, and we'll pop up these 2 cards as well. Yeah. The only difference is Boba Fett is clearly the better pilot with a score.
He's the better pilot, yeah, but he's only 1 better than Cat Scarlet, and Cat Scarlet's ability, I believe, is quite good. Okay, that Cat Scarlet is not so good, but she comes as a Scum and Villainy Bounty Hunter pilot as well, and her ability there is much better. So they all have unique abilities. It's very cool. Allows you to mess around. And whenever they do change the rules, they include these rules cards so that you can add them into your rule book, keep track of the cards that actually matter for the rules. In this case, one of them is an ion token, one of them is a bomb token, and it's basically it's an upgrade to the rule book. So it's a great way to quickly update the rules, to change the game if the game's changing too fast. And Fantasy Flight aren't afraid to do that. Like if they bring out a ship which costs too many points, like Boba Fett costs 39 points. If that was 39 too many, then they would bring out a release in a couple of months after it's obvious that it's too many and nobody wants to play them, and they would reduce the cost of the ship. So they actively changed the balance and dynamic of the game based on what people actually like.
Nice. And as Joe would have mentioned earlier on as well, is although like when you buy these packs together, you get all the cards and everything with them. On eBay, for example, you could buy some of the cards separately. So people do go out there and imagine when they buy 1 or 2 or 3 packs, they do give away their other cards or sell them probably at a price value at that. And probably making a bit of profit.
Oh yeah, big time. But the epic ships, I mentioned in the other video. Actually, I think it was the video that got deleted. The epic ships can be the giant ships like the blockade runner from episode 4, the very first ship in episode 4 that they're trying to C-3PO and R2-D2 are trying to escape on.
Are their bases bigger?
Yeah, there are 2 of these gigantic bases.
Wow.
The ship is actually huge. But there are cards, there are upgrade cards that come in that box set that you can only get in that box set, and nobody wants to spend $100 to get some ship they're never going to use if they're not interested in using the ship, but they might want the card. So then somebody else will buy it just for the ship and sell the card on eBay. So, but they are quite expensive.
I can imagine so. So that's Slave 1 covered, and again, you get everything that you need to play that particular ship along with all the rule sets, as we said.
And my voice using OPS Audio. Audio sponsored by Jeebus.